Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. So today is the 24th of September, 2017. The day after the world ended. Bum, bum, bum. I'm not so arrogant as to think you all watched the documentary I was in called The Sign, but in it, basically I tried to give the message of something could happen. You know, it's pretty convincing, the sign to me. Nothing could happen. Either way, we have to continue to prepare and stay on a steady course. And we had a lot of things happen back to back to back right before yesterday. It seems like a long time ago because we've done a lot in the last 24 hours. But we had the Feast of Trumpets, and we had people show up for that, guests, and then we got ready. Then the next day, Friday, 6th day, my wife and I drove to Tulsa, which is a good piece away, for a checkup on my peepers. And they're fine. I mean, you know, they're where they're supposed to be. And then the next morning, we got up early and we drove 2 states away to another congregation. That shows you how worried we were that the world was going to end, right? 12 Shofarians did a road trip. We had a convoy, and we went to another state. And we gathered with some other believers, and we worshiped, and we fellowshipped, and we did mass deliverance service. And then about half of us came back on Saturday night, came back here, and half of us continued forward to High Prairie Acres. And we spent the evening there basically just sleeping, got up this morning, did a couple things, and headed back to the mountain, and here we are. And so I would not have done that if I was convinced the world was going to go crazy. I never did think that the world was going to end yesterday. And I even said, I think in a video here, but it may have been on YouTube, there's not going to be any rapture on that day. And so, having said all that, Friday afternoon was coming around, and again, I said I thought it could be a possibility, right? You know, that something significant could happen. And I told my wife, I said, well, we're about as ready as we can be, but there were a couple things that were kind of bugging me. And so I thought I would share those lessons learned from the end of the world. I think that's a good title for this. Lessons learned from the end of the world with y'all on things that I had wished I had done before the sun went down on Friday night. Because see, in our belief, we don't do any work from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. And so, you know, we can't go shopping or carry heavy loads or do anything like that. And so the first thing was water. I told y'all in a recent video my water situation and how I'm going to my brother's house and downloading it from his, you know, fluoridated, chlorinated water, bringing it here and pumping it into my tanks. And I only got about 3/4 of one of my tanks full. And I really kind of wanted to fill up like 3 or 4 tanks. Didn't happen. I am, from a preparedness standpoint, critically low on water. Now I'm saying I'm critically low on water. I probably have, I don't want to exaggerate, 5 to 7 cases of bottled water. I have, I don't know, 300 gallons of rainwater. I have a pump that pumps drinking water. I have another pump that pumps, you know, alternating clear and brown water. And I feel inadequately stored. So where's that put you? So that was one thing. I wish I'd had time to get more water. The other thing was this. We store what I call medium-term and long-term food supplies. And when I lived at High Prairie Acres in a more modern home, closer to more modern conveniences, still out in the boonies, still out in the sticks, out in the country, I had a pantry there. And the pantry had I don't know, I'd have to guess, but probably 6 months worth of what I call regular food. canned goods, crackers, Bisquick, stuff like that. Just kind of regular Pop-Tarts, jelly, peanut butter, oil, regular food that you get at the store. And we also have always had what I call our long-term stores, which is primarily wheat, corn, beans, and rice. And we're pretty good on that. So I was thinking, one, our pantry is down here because I don't have a pantry. And so those supplies aren't there. And really, those aren't the sustain life for a really long period of time. They're just kind of like make life nicer, if that makes any sense to you, the spice. But I thought about all the other stuff we have, and I'm like, you know what? We could probably use some more sauces. Like I used to have, I don't know, maybe 5 of the metal gallon cans of soy sauce, and we brought them all to Shofar Mountain in 2012, and we've since used them all and not replaced them. And so I have a whole bunch of rice and very little soy sauce. I don't have that much sriracha or hot sauce, probably 3 bottles, 4 bottles of each. I don't have any like gravy mixes or anything like that. And so I said, we need to kind of stock up on that stuff to pour on rice. And then I said, look, we've got enough wheat and corn to make cornbread and wheat forever. The jelly my wife canned this year, jam of different kinds, at the way we eat it now, it'll last probably over a year. But if all of a sudden, there's no more shopping, and so we're eating what we have every day, maybe 6 months worth of jam and jelly, right? And so I said, maybe we should buy like a case of Smuckers or something. It's not like it goes bad, and just store that away. And more sugar. Like when I say more sugar, I'm talking like 400 or 500 pounds of sugar, so that we have a long-term supply for making jams and jellies from the blackberries that just grow gangbusters here, or the passion fruit, or the whatever, the plums, persimmons, everything that we make jam out of. But we don't have the sugar here. And so I thought, let's go buy some sugar at Sam's. And we didn't do that. We're going to. We're gonna act on all of these lessons that we learned. And so I'm just encouraging you to kind of take this and think about it yourself and say, all right, what do I wish maybe that I had? Kind of along my lines, if you woke up tomorrow and found out that we were at war with North Korea, what would you wish you had done, right? So that was another thing. I have a lot of medical supplies at an alternate location. I have a lot of medical supplies here, but I have more at a different place. And I was thinking about making a side trip to go get them and bring them here, because side trips are probably going to be out of the question once things happen. But then I decided, no, I'm going to leave them where they are for now. But that was basically it. Jelly and water, soy sauce. Oh no, that's not it. No. All my gas cans are full, but I committed a horrible sin in the prepper world. And I'm man enough to tell you about it. See, I don't sit here and pretend I'm Joe's superhero prepper dude who never makes a mistake, and you guys are all losers. Both of my trucks, when we went on our road trip, we rented a car for our road trip. Both of my trucks were at a 1/4 tank of gas. Joe, come on, what are you thinking? So that was another thing. Oh, and I take these eye drops now, and the guy said I may have to take them for about 6 months because my eyes get really dry. And they come in like 28, 30-day supply packs, and I have 3 months worth right now that I've bought. And I told my wife, I want to buy 12 months supply of those. And they're not cheap, but I'll do that this week too. I'll get a year's supply of that stuff and just store it. So that I have it in case something happens. But that's about it. Other than that, I was pretty happy. And I told my wife, I said, and don't worry, all of this is just nice to have Nitnoy stuff. We've got food, we've got water, we have the ability to create more of both, yada, yada, yada. Oh, no, there's one more. I should have made a list, but I can't read right now. So we're planning on getting rabbits. And can't eat rabbits anymore. It's, goes forth on pause. Leviticus, what is that, 11, I think? But but we can feed them to our dogs. And so what I think we're going to do is, back here we've got these crumbling foundations that were not built correctly in the first place. We're going to try two types of rabbit raising. The first one, we're going to buy 1 buck and 2 does, and we're going to throw them in this foundation. It's a square with walls, I don't know, 3.5, 4 feet high all the way around it, and it's full of just plants, and there's water in there and everything else. We're just going to chuck them in there and see what happens. Let nature take its course. I'll build them a little shelter, and of course I'll make sure they have water, and we'll give them pellets at first until they get, figure out what's going on. But we'd kind of like to see if they dig a little rabbit colony in there. And then the other thing I'm going to do, at one time very successfully had what I called a meat factory, where I bred and raised rabbits for meat, which we ate. And I did that with 1 buck and 2 does, and I was running about, I don't know, 6 to 8 cages, because they would have babies, and then once the babies get to a certain size, you move them to what I called the nursery, and then once they get to the teenager size, which is about where you start eating them, I separated them again, and this was just a constant process that was going on. And the reason we're doing this is twofold. Number one, we want to come up with a sustainable source of food for our dogs, which are part of our security plan. And so, I can buy dog food, and I do have a fair amount on hand, but we want a sustainable source, which is why right now I'm not shooting the squirrels. But eventually I will. And it's not like we're overrun with squirrels. So, that wouldn't feed them for long. And so we want to raise rabbits for the dogs and start getting them used to it now. And then the other reason, so that's kind of what we're thinking in the wild, in the foundation back there. And then the other thing I'm going to do with the cages, I built underneath my cages, and I have a blog on it. If you go to vikingpreparedness.blogspot.com and probably type in the search box rabbits, you'll probably find it. But I built a chute underneath all the rabbit pens so that when they pooped and peed, it came straight down out of their cage. It rolled down this chute into a tote bin, and then I would take that and put it in my compost, put it straight on some of the plants. Roses loved it, that kind of thing. And I was getting ready to grow earthworms in it, and then we moved to Shofar Mountain, and so I kind of stopped that project. And I'd kind of like to get that going again, that fertilizer factory aspect of it. And so we'll probably do it 2 different ways there, the semi-wild way, and I'm just looking around the garden, haven't seen it for a couple days. And in the cages, see, can you see that? I have tomatoes that look ready to pick right there, some watermelon, peppers, all kinds of goodness. Maybe I'll do a fall tour of the garden later, but not today. All right, so I'm a guy that likes to constantly learn, likes to constantly improve, and the way I look at it, my personality, is you have to recognize what's wrong before you can improve something. I want to get better at upper body strength again, and so I realize I'm not where I used to be or where I can be, and so my wife and I are actually working on plans to improve our fitness some more, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. But I'm not afraid to say I'm slipping here, or I'm below standard here, or whatever, to improve. And I like to use events and go back over them in my mind and say, how could we have done that better? And so that's what I did for this. I really like learning from other people's mistakes better, so I don't have to learn the hard way. And so maybe you can take some of what I said today and put that into your own planning, the process of it. And the thing is, you can't just go, oh yeah, that's a good idea, I should probably get a case of jelly. If you think you should get a case of jelly, you should do it this week. You should decide what day after work you're going to stop by wherever you buy your jelly and get it. You know what I mean? Make action happen out of it. Things aren't getting easier. I didn't think the world was going to end, but I don't think it's going to get any easier. So I want you all to be prepared. I'm back. I'm starting to see a little bit better, so expect more videos from me. Expect some writings to start coming soon, I hope. I still don't see really good enough to write, and my emails are atrocious right now because I can't proofread or anything. I'm just kind of typing by memory, and I sort of think the letters are there. So if you've been writing me emails, you might want to hold off for a little while, a couple weeks till my eyes settle down. That's it. We made it through another one. Cheated death again. The Shofarians are looking forward to their next challenge. All right. Y'all take care, and I'll see you out there.